Hello, good morning. It's Monday the 18th. I'm FxPlew and this is the first Super Scorchio market brief of the week as the heat wave goes on in the UK. The leadership race also goes on. Most of the candidates were pressured over the weekend to explain how they would fund the tax cuts they're proposing. Sunak continues to stand firm against any tax cuts and he's been critical of those proposing cuts as playing to the crowd. Despite the obvious distraction of the leadership race, Sunak continues as Chancellor and will be providing as much help as he can to the Bank of England. They look more likely to vote for a 50 basis point rate hike at the next MPC meeting, which is due in the first week of August. We've had 5 rate hikes since December, but there's been very little reaction to the 25 basis point rate hike so far. Inflation is still surging and the cost of living crisis is still very much ongoing. However, the economy grew by 0.5% in May. That's compared to a 0.3% contraction in April. That was spurred on by construction, manufacturing and service sector performance. So perhaps this will give the MPC comfort to have a crack at 50 basis points as a rate hike, because it was the fear of causing recession that prevented them from more aggressive action earlier in the cycle. Last week, sterling fell to 117.60 against a rather rampant dollar. We closed out the week at 118.55, but that was still the lowest weekly close since March 2020. We opened this morning around 119 against the dollar and about 117.80 against the euro. And the divergence of those rates is reflected in euro dollar, which has moved away from parity. That opens around 101 this morning. Over in the US, the aggressive rate hike action from the Fed is beginning to have an effect on core inflation. Fuel and energy prices, the increases there still make the headlines, but the Fed is more concerned about wage inflation filtering through as workers job hop to get higher pay to keep up with the cost of living. Supply chains are continuing to improve, but the next issue may be driven by a fall in demand. Cooling the demand side is the core focus for the Fed and their rate hikes, but while a drop-off in demand will reduce the burden on the haulage sector, it could easily lead to a more significant wider slowdown. Keep an eye out for the Netflix numbers. They're due to release their Q2 performance pretty soon. Q1 showed their first quarterly fall in subscriber numbers as household budgets began to feel the pinch. And this has become an informal economic barometer, and there's plenty of interest in the Q2 number. No such concerns for the dollar index though. That made a new all-time high last week at 109.30. We closed out the week slightly lower, but watch this space. Maybe this is the week that the index breaks 110 for the first time. It's not just the UK weather that's hotting up this week. Have a good one. Stay hydrated.
If you do not have a clue, then just tweet through and ask FxPlew.